This podcast contains potentially adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly sexual context. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the podcast. I'm your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is the amazing C.R. Rice, and our guest today is Rob Samborn. Woo! Woo! I do that as if they don't add something to make it sound cooler. We used to do this live, Rob. I don't know if you know that. So we used to actually have people that would. Anyway, it's a long story.
Yeah, you need a studio audience.
Yeah, I had a studio audience.
Canned laughter and all that.
Yeah, COVID, you can't have a studio audience anymore, really. Well, it depends, I suppose. Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking real quick so people can drink along. I decided to drink wine. So today I got a bottle. I love Malbec, and somebody gave me, I'm going to say this completely wrong, Luigi Borsa. Anyway, here it's super fancy, and it's an award winner, and it says all this cool stuff, but it's a Malbec. So I'm very excited about that. Although there is what appears to be a gravestone with a sword through it on the bottle. So this could end badly for me. I don't know. It's going to be fine. It's going to be an experiment.
Is it Spanish?
That'll be great.
It is from Argentina. So yes. Yes, it's super fancy. Oh, on the gravestone, there's a heart and a chicken. This has many layers. We could spend quite some time.
I was going to say, you should take pictures of the label so that we could put it on and we could do like little comments to figure out what everybody thinks it means.
Yeah, no, I'll have to do that because anyway, a friend got it for me for Christmas because when you do a drinking podcast, all everybody gives you as gifts is alcohol. So it's fun.
Nothing
Not a
wrong
problem. Not complaining, anyone listening. It's fine. Okay. CR, what are you drinking?
I am still drinking the green tea and vodka, doing the healthy lifestyle this year and stuff.
So that's a healthy version of the Red Bull and vodka.
Exactly. I'm being kinder to myself. Got to get those vitamins.
That's good. I have an entire cherry bomb story I could tell at some point. It was near deadly. Okay, Rob, what are you drinking?
I am drinking it's actually a pre-made cocktail, but it's delicious, from a local distillery in Denver called the Family Jones or Automatic Jones. And this particular one is called Rock and Rye. And they make a lot of different whiskeys and a couple different ryes and also some vodkas. And they're fantastic. And it's basically an old fashioned in a bottle. But it does not taste like it's pre-made at all. It's really good. And
wow.
Yeah, also have a water, of course, in my trusty Prisoner of Paradise mug, which is my book.
I like that shameless self-promotion. That was awesome.
Just slid that right in there.
Yes, no, that was brilliant. I get that bonus. Okay.
And by the way, sorry to interrupt you, but if we do go down the route of the label, I would love to show you something super cool that is in that vein.
Oh, okay. No,
let's jump right into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to say, this episode is sponsored by Skunk Brothers Spirits. They are amazing, amazing, amazing. Veteran family-owned distillery in Washington State. And if you use podcast coupon, I haven't even drunk anything yet. It's great. Coupon code DWA10, you get 10% off. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Where's my postcard? Because I think we're gonna need it.
Yeah, get the postcard out. I can see it's coming. By postcard, she holds up something so I say the right things at the end of the podcast. It's great.
Yes.
Rob, why don't you tell anyone who is not familiar with you what you write?
Sure. So as you saw from my mug, my book is called The Prisoner of Paradise. So I suppose I can show the book instead of the mug. And The Prisoner of Paradise is a thriller blended with historical fiction and magical realism set in Venice, Italy, in the present day and also in the 16th century. And it's about an American couple who travel to Venice on vacation, and the husband comes to believe that his true soulmate is not his wife, but a woman who was murdered in 1589, and her soul is basically trapped in the world's largest oil painting. So he goes on, his wife, he also suffered a traumatic head injury, so his wife actually thinks that he's suffering from delusions. but he's convinced that it's real. And he goes on this quest and discovers this ancient religious order who over centuries has developed a way to extract people's souls from their bodies, and then they imprison them in this painting. And again, it's the world's largest oil painting. It's massive. It's a real painting by Tintoretto, a Renaissance master. It's about 80 feet wide by 40 feet high. It's about 12 feet off the floor. It's gigantic and has thousands of people in it. And
wow.
all of these people are imprisoned souls. So the main character, Nick, will do anything that he can to free his soulmate from another time, but this religious order will do anything that they can to stop him, because they claim all of these souls are evil, and releasing one would mean releasing all of them.
So he's
Oh my
ditching
goodness.
his wife for a girl in an oil painting? That's like next level dark.
It's
I
not,
like
no,
it. I'm just.
he doesn't ditch his wife. He's madly in love with his wife. He's actually
Okay.
He's torn. No, he doesn't want to ditch his. He wants to like be with his wife, but also free his beloved. And he has a series. He has a series of flashbacks to the 16th century. So he has this very, very strong connection to her. But yeah, he doesn't ditch his wife. Well, maybe
Layers, CR, layers. We're
he might ditch her once or twice.
seriously. There's a love triangle with dead people. So just it's fine.
A little bit of something for everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Okay.
actually, I'm glad you said that, Erica, because at the core of the story is a love story.
See, look how astute I am with my wine.
Just intuitive.
I am. I just
New
that
beverage
is
of choice.
awesome. So, Rob, when did you start writing?
So I have a screenwriting background, and I started writing screenplays a very long time ago. Let's just say it was in the last century. And I had mixed level of success with that. So I wrote 9 scripts, 5 of which were options, and had an agent, manager, all that. I used to live in LA for a pretty long time. And I actually originally wrote this book as a screenplay. And it was optioned by a production company founded by DreamWorks execs, which was cool, but it was never made into a movie. And when the rights reverted back to me, I had the brilliant idea of, hey, I'll just whip out the book and then I'll have the script ready to go. So as every author knows, it doesn't work that way. It was a very long learning curve for me. I had the writing background, but novel writing is pretty different from screenwriting. I often use the analogy of like playing an instrument. It's kind of like, playing the same song on drums and like a church organ or something, whatever is the most complex instrument you can think of. And no disrespect to the drums at all. I actually used to play the drums. But it is kind of like that. So I started writing the book probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And it did take a while, but there was a lot of stoppage time. It wasn't like I was writing every single day. And then I went through the agent submission process, got an agent, and then they went through the submission process with the publisher. And so it's published by a publisher called Touchpoint Press. And it's actually, I have a 3-book deal with them. So this is the first of a series. So
That is awesome. I love that you got a 3-book deal, because that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And the next book is coming out in October, and then the 3rd book is coming out in 2023. And the first audio book should be out in about a month or 2 as well.
Very cool. Did you make this into a series, or each of them standalone?
Well, the first one could be read as standalone. It does have a satisfying enough ending, I believe, to enjoy it, but the story definitely continues. And so the subsequent books are definitely part of the series.
That's very, very cool. That's awesome. What made you get into writing to begin with? So I do understand the whole screenplay thing. I write screenplays. I do get that. But what made you decide to go that route? Because I have a follow-up question. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's fine. Okay, I'm going to take a step. You answer.
And
there we go.
Honestly, I think it's similar to what a lot of writers go through, which is that I've been writing since I was a kid. I've always loved it. I've always loved books. I've always loved movies and TV and pretty much any form of entertainment, period, to be honest with you, live performances as well. And I really consider myself more of a storyteller than a writer. I mean, I think my writing is pretty good, but where I really think I excel is as a storyteller. So I've always loved telling stories, whatever the medium.
That's very cool. The reason I say that, it was interesting because I've talked to some producers in Hollywood, and well, they're in California. I shouldn't say Hollywood. Hollywood sounds super fancy, but it's not, doesn't work that way all the time.
People who live in LA don't think it sounds fancy.
Yeah. No, I grew up in Hollywood actually. But anyway, side note, I talked to a couple producers, and one of the things they said, which I thought was really interesting, is there are people that are not actual, like, that are just screenplay writers. So they don't end up doing a lot of world building with their screenplays necessarily, because there's a specific there, and you can, it's funny because he was talking about how you can really tell when somebody just does only that and has not done any fiction, that sort of thing, because it sort of starts on page one and ends on, but you don't see the world built around it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting observation. And there are so many nuances to both. There really is a fine art of each one. Screenwriting, I think, is a little bit more like poetry, whereas book writing is prose. But I would say that screenwriting is a little closer to poetry in that regard of the flow. You want to make sure that it almost looks like a moving picture on the page, and you go down more as opposed to going across. And so, I guess it depends upon the script, but you want a world build, but you don't want people to get lost into heavy chunks and blocks of text that you would see on the page in a book. And, one of the things that I struggled with actually going to novel writing was the opposite of world building. It was really more of things like internal dialogue and emotions, nonverbal cues, all that kind of stuff that you would never put into a script.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's more, when he was saying it, and it was that you can tell when somebody's writing because they've built the whole thing in their mind, and that they're not thinking about just the 90 minutes. You can tell there's more of a back history, more of something when you get done watching the movie, you go, this could be 5 movies, because there's more to this, there's more to the little character, there's more to how they do that. I don't know, it's interesting for somebody who's watched a shit ton of bad movies. You can tell when it's just this is what's on the page. I can say my last one was last night, I couldn't make it through, called Alien Encounters with Bruce Campbell. It was terrible.
There
were termites.
So amazing.
He is amazing. He has done some pretty terrible crap, though.
Yeah, but they're campy crap.
Yeah, this was really crampy. Termites were the villains. Termite aliens.
Of course.
And they were harvesting the wood to send back to their mother planet.
So
and his female co-star was.
It seems like it makes sense.
And they're tiny.
What?
Couldn't they just spray them? Couldn't they just fumigate it?
It all started off that he was a part of a space mission that was gone for 40 years to put a probe out in the world. And he came back and he was an doctor of osteopathy, which seems weird to send on a space mission with 3 other people. I don't know. Definitely.
The big question is, were they actual size of termites, or were they big alien termites?
No, they were 5 foot tall termites.
Okay.
They referred to them as the mites.
Of course they did.
Okay, just for anybody who's listening or watching this, if you go watch this particular movie, do not, no hate mail, because I warned you, I turned it off. I have no idea how it ended. It was terrible. It was really bad. So, when you wrote, how long did this book take you, this first book?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly, but probably about 5 or 6 years total. But there was a ton of stoppage time and a lot of writing and rewriting. This book is about 100,000 words, for example. I probably, without exaggeration, wrote about 200,000 words for it. So I'm a bit of a perfectionist with that. And then also, with all the querying time. So anyway, this is a very, very long answer to your question. But
that's okay, because
I'm going to say 3 years of actual writing time. Now, the second book only took 1 year.
Oh, you absolutely get better, especially if you're a perfectionist. It gets, You have to let it go. You have to let it go, let it go. I mean, because otherwise you'll end up writing that damn book for like 20 years. You'll just keep
Yeah.
writing that same book. You're like, no, I'm just going to tweak it. I'm sure also if you've actually read it now that you've written the second one, if you go back and read the first one, you'll be like, oh, I should have changed this thing. And
well, one silver lining of the pandemic for me anyway, is that the book's release date got pushed back by about a year. So I had ample time to go back and edit it. And particularly actually adding setups for the following books. So that was kind of cool that I had that opportunity. And yeah, so I had that experience, but I also fortunately had the chance to correct those things.
very cool. How come you went traditional versus self-publishing? What made you decide to go the agent route?
You know, honestly, I didn't really consider self-publishing at all at the time when I was querying. I suppose it came from my screenwriting background, which, I mean, you can make a movie on your own, but you know, it could be Alien Encounters too.
Oh my God, if somebody would fund the sequel to that, I'd go have to fly out to wherever they are and punch them.
So yeah, so the typical way of going about it and with screenwriting is to get an agent or a manager and go that route. So it was kind of just in my head to do that, but I'm glad I did, for sure.
How's it been since the book release for you?
So, I mean, in a sense, it's been great. But the other side of it is, and this is something that nobody tells you, is just the amount of marketing. If I could do Drinking with Authors podcasts only, I would be in a very, very, very happy place. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And there's just so much to do all the time, like so much on social media and all these different things. And so that is a huge amount of time. I don't necessarily mind it that much because I also have a marketing and sales background, but it's the time that is taken away from writing. You know, it's like,
No,
I really
absolutely.
just want to write the work. I'm working on the third book now, so I want more time for that and other things as well. I'm actually working on a number of different projects. But it's, you know, just like so much time. I spend probably like 4 or 5 hours a day on various types of marketing for the first book, but I feel like I need to do that. You know, I'm a debut author. Nobody knows me, so except the people watching now, you know me. So
yeah, no, you have to get your name out there. It's very different than it used to be. It's very different than, you know, showing up in bookstores and things like that. Like there is definitely a finding your audience and then making yourself accessible to your audience, because gone are the days where people maybe wrote a letter to their author person that they liked that arrived at the, you know, agency, blah, blah, blah. Now it's, hey, I want to be able to talk to them. I want to be able to message them on social media. I want to be able to follow them on Twitter or TikTok or whatever the heck you're on. That's a whole ridiculous thing.
I'm
You
on
have to do that every day.
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. I'm on all the above. And yeah, and it's so true what you're saying, Erica. And the other thing is I'm with a small press. You know, it's one thing if you're with a big five, especially if you're a big name and you don't have to do all the marketing yourself. But I mean, and my publisher helps a little bit, but the majority of the onus is on me to do as much of the marketing as possible and promotion and publicity.
No, absolutely. And just, I mean, what you're experiencing, unless you're one of the big names with the big five, then you still have to do this. Doesn't matter. Like you get with the big five, woo, I'm with Macmillan. You're doing the same exact thing with maybe less contact with your publisher than you have right now with the small press. Right. You know, because they're like, cool, we published you, do all this stuff. Talk to you later. Okay. Here's your sales report a year later. We'll let you know if you owe us a advance back or something. Crazy. What about CR? What about you? As I monopolize the conversation.
You said you were working on a number of projects. Do you have like other writing projects you're working on, or are you still working with like screenplays or?
All of the above, actually. So yeah, so I am writing the third book of this series. I'm also pseudo working on a novella that is a kind of offshoot of this series. And then I'm actually, believe it or not, working on 3 screenplays as well. How can I do all that? Yeah, so how can I do all that? I don't have the time really. But with the screenplays, I have decided to work with writing partners on those. So 3 different writing partners. So, which is kind of cool because I can I'm not, obviously I haven't had a screenplay produced, but it comes very easy to me to be able to work on those, especially if I'm working with somebody else. So that's why. And then it's not like, we're kind of, I send something to them and then I get something else from somebody else and that kind of thing. So it's segued that way. And then with the other books right now, I'm primarily focused on the 3rd book in this series. And then when I kind of need to reset my brain, I switch over to that novella that I was talking about.
I think novellas off of a series are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I say that CR's written a 5-book series, and she has 7 novellas off of the 5-book series that are all like 25, 30,000 words.
25. I cut it down to 25. You told me a hard stop at 25.
Just barely, though. Just barely. If I didn't tell her she had a cap, she would still be going.
CR, what do you write? I'd love to hear about it.
I actually do something called the Realm series. So right now we're finishing up on the 1st realm, and there'll be 7 in total, and each realm is going to be a different genre of writing. So I'll get to experiment with all the different types of writing. But it's about a girl who gets cast out from her original realm and doesn't know it until a guy shows up and pulls her into the middle of a war and is just like, hey, you got to fix this. So my
dog, by the way, that sudden reaction.
Yes, he just like bit my shirt. So it caught me a little bit off guard.
That's okay.
But
I locked my dog out of the room.
Yeah. Heavy studio things.
He's just been really sketchy today. He went to play with some friends at a doggy daycare yesterday, and now he's just all kinds of weird. They taught him bad habits. That's what happened.
Yeah. So the next realm, this is the Heart Realm, and it's a young adult series that's magical. And the next realm is
I'm torn between doing either the sci-fi realm or the mystery detective realm. So I keep going back and forth.
But would you classify the whole series? A couple of questions for you, actually, because I'm really interested in this. So the first question is, would you classify the whole series as YA fantasy? And this follow-up question is, are they connected through characters?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same characters.
Well, it's not the same characters, but there are main characters that get woven throughout all of the realms because they're kind of like the flagship of, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. But they basically, it's an all-out war going on between the realms. So basically somebody had to start it, right? So it's a giant mystery of how it gets going and how to actually stop it. So you have the main runners that kind of keep pulling people into their disasters in these different realms. So they kind of go with the travelers and go throughout. But I wouldn't call it all young adult fantasy because we have like the detective realm. We're doing a sci-fi realm. There is more of angels versus demons in one of them. So that's kind of fantasy, but are
you expecting the same readers through all 7 books?
7 series?
It's 37 it's like 40, she's got in the series, by the way.
It's what?
Just open Pandora's box. She's got 37, not including the novellas in this.
37 books?
Yes.
Wow. How many have you written?
I have, let's see, I just finished Depression. So published, I have 6.
Wow.
1, 2, 3. Yep. And then I just finished up 4 more. So I'm about to just bombard my editor with just all the books at once so I can kind of take a breather and she can kind of sink down with them for a while.
She doesn't get a breather.
No, she doesn't.
And,
I won't.
So, and the novellas, are they connected? And is it the type of thing that you kind of just give away for free?
Yeah, they're all connected. So for this Heart Realm, I took the main characters. And so the Heart Realm follows a girl named Avery. So the novellas are all about the people that end up coming into her life and how they got into her life. Which a lot of people have actually had a lot of fun with the novellas. I find it super stressful trying to keep to a word count personally, but they've actually been a lot of fun. It's really cool getting to dive into the individual characters.
No, they're not given away for free. And I mean, you can always have a freebie story. There is a freebie story you can give away in your newsletter if you want to post it on, Kindle or something like that. But I wouldn't give away your novellas for free. These are origin stories for her characters. I know this because I'm also her publisher, but
so and they're not thin, like they're
so they're origin stories. But I think that it's a really great idea because when people read your books, a lot of books out there, there's so much more they want to know sometimes about the sub characters or some group in the thing that you don't really, you're using them and they're talking about this thing and this happened, but they go away after maybe, 10 pages of whatever, different back and forth. And then people I joke, I always call it like Leon the barista, like you write a story and you're using him as a plot point, just to move the story along. And everybody's like, what's Leon's story? And you're like, who? And then you go back and look and he was a barista in your story and everybody wants to know about him because somehow they fell in love with this character that said 3 lines,
Yes.
Yeah.
Why was he wearing a green shirt? It's like, I was wearing a green shirt. So I was like, hey. Yeah.
So what I'm planning on doing, so about 65% of my book takes place in the present day and 35% takes place in the past. And the flashback scenes are not told in chronological order. So I'm not spoiling anything with this, but we find out that the main character from the past actually basically escapes his predicament and Venice in the very beginning of the book. It's essentially a prologue, although I don't call it a prologue, but it is a prologue because sometimes people don't like prologues or whatever. So anyway, and then the mystery is unraveled in different layers and pieces as you read forward. But what I want to do is with the novella is go back to this character because he is the main character of the past scenes, and we would find out what happens to him. And that it really originally I wanted to write it as a full book, but I'm thinking of maybe doing like segmenting it out into different novellas, almost like a series of novellas.
I think that's a great idea. I love the series of novellas because the other thing it can do is you've got books, you've got the second one coming out, but you have a long delay, not in a bad way. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but you have a delay in your books coming out. And sometimes these novellas can satiate the readers because the readers of your book, the readers of anybody's books tend to be very voracious readers. People who are true readers are like, let me eat. And so you have to find something to give to them every now and then. So even though they read your book, if they have to wait a year or whatever for your next one, give them a couple novellas in between because then they're still like attached to the story.
Yeah, totally. CR, do you rapid release?
Typically when I give them to my editor, they're typically out within a month and a half, 2 months. Isn't that kind of what we do? 3 months?
3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stockpiling.
Yeah.
Making myself a vacation in there.
Yeah, that's not going to work, but we'll put them out about every 3 months. Honestly, it just depends on your publisher and depends on the writer. The fact is that there's so many you know what? We have to take a break. I'm going to bring this up on the next thing. We have to take a break. I will be right back. I will by myself be right back with drinking. Just kidding.
We're ditching it.
I don't even know what's happening. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Sample locally sourced, quality distilled spirits in the beautiful Columbia River Gorge. At Skunk Brothers Distillery, we're family owned, brewing small batch grain to bottle spirits, just like our grandfather did back in the Prohibition era. From handcrafted bourbons and moonshine to flavored blends and cordials infused with local fruit. Join us for a tasting tour and buy Skunk Brothers spirits straight from the source.
It's all in the family at Skunk Brothers Spirits, located in Stevenson, Washington.
Okay, we're back, and because Rob's already done this, I'm going to make him show the audience what this is because. For those listening, you're going to have to definitely check out the YouTube because this is kind of amazing.
Okay. So Erica was talking about the logo on her wine bottle, which has a sword in a tombstone, is it?
Yes, and a chicken. Don't forget the chicken. It's very vital.
A heart and the chicken.
And, I don't know, it's Sergio Borsa, right? The label?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So I don't know how old that winery is, but it's quite possible that it's hundreds of years old, maybe a couple hundred years old from. But anyway, a lot of types of places like that have very interesting logos that have some type of symbolism. And my book is very much sort of like a Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code meets like Diana Gabaldon's Outlander. So I'm really into like all these kind of old things and symbolism that goes into it, and like, you know, adventure and all that type of stuff. So anyway, I recently had a birthday, and my brother lives in London and flew to Venice because I had actually asked him, it cost him $18, by the way, to go from London to Venice. Jealous? Yes, I am. And because I asked him to take some pictures of like the book around Venice, and he did that, but he also got me this incredible birthday present. And I should mention that my wife and my brother actually both went in on it. So first of all, this is the outside, which you can't really see that well, but it's essentially a vellum binding of an old book, and with a wax seal right there from 1590. And there are some pages from an atlas from 1590. And I should not be really handling these pages with my bare hands, but it's okay. So these are pages from an atlas. Let me show you the front actually, from 1590 about Venice.
Wow.
And you know, the way they printed back then is this was probably originally a woodcut. And they would create the woodcut and then put ink on it and then press it on this paper, which is really cool. So that's the front of it. And inside is a map of Venice from 1590, which is accurate in terms of its layout, but probably not that particularly helpful if you're looking for
Trying to find out where to go.
if you're looking for the mask store or something. Yeah.
I'm looking for the local tavern.
Right. And then but what really reminded me of this when you were talking about the logo on the wine bottle is this particular page. So this is actually the logo of the publisher from 1590.
Wow.
And that tower I find just incredibly intriguing. You know, I just really wonder what it is. There's this movie with Johnny Depp called The Ninth Gate.
Oh yeah.
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 And he finds this kind of like castle at the very end of it. And it just totally reminds me of that. Like, it's just like, it looks like this castle or tower, I guess, that's out in the middle of nowhere. It's sticking up what looks to be like, I don't know, like 15 stories or something like that. And it's just so completely intriguing. And I don't know if it's symbolic for the publisher or if it was a real place. And it very well could be. So I'm almost certainly going to look into this and probably incorporate it into my third book.
I think that's a brilliant idea. What I think is amazing about that is publisher's logo. We're not that fancy anymore. That's super fancy.
Not a penguin.
Yes, we're nowhere near that fancy anymore. Oh my goodness. Sierra, are you trying to find the tower? Is that what's happening right now?
I'm trying to see if there's a tower somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like
there's
lone
tons of
towers
in Italy.
upon
Yeah,
a hill in Italy.
Yeah, there are these incredible towers. I'm gonna hop up to another one if that's okay. With trees on top. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff.
Because a lot of times back then they took like actual scenes from places and did that type of stuff.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to find lone tower on a hill in Italy.
I don't know if it's probably called Lone Tower on a Hill, but if you find it, I'm going to be thoroughly impressed, but not surprised.
I'm going to tell Corey about it and he'll find it within like 15 seconds.
Yeah, so
I might be able to do a Google image. Yeah, or I can do a Google image search on. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that's what
and it's in some rich person's backyard now, and it has a water slide that comes from it. Just kidding.
Right? Can you imagine?
Okay, we do that here in America. They don't do that overseas as much. Not that everybody in America does that, but we tend to be more like, well, this is cool. We should put a water slide through it.
History.
Hey, everybody likes water slides.
That is a true story. That is a true story. I saw one the other day that has like a clear bottom that goes down a mountainside.
Oh my
And
God,
I was like,
yes. Oh, and the one that goes through a city, I was gonna die watching the video.
yeah, I was like, this is this seems neat, but yet completely fucking terrifying. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like those,
Hey, I think I found it.
Oh, did you?
I think I did.
Seriously?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
like,
I'm gonna allow you to
I'm
share
gonna-
your screen if you did.
No, you can't see my screen because I have all of my writing on here.
Can you change the
Oh,
window?
great. Thanks. Could you switch that up? You
Yeah.
giant
Yes.
tease.
When you do things
Switch
called
it. Hold
computers,
on.
you can change the windows.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. Look, I think I found it, but nobody can see it.
I know.
Tee-hee.
I was gonna send it to you guys in Facebook. Okay, so let's see. How do I share screen? There
By
we
the way,
go.
Erica, that
Green button. I got you.
the clear glass walkway at the Grand Canyon, if that's what you're talking about, I've been there. That's pretty cool. Where is
And that's it, right?
Well,
Or
I'm not
it's
sure
this
because
one.
this one actually has. It could very well be. The bottom of it has that kind of base, and there also seems to be like a pole sticking out. And I say pole because it's obviously
you
not.
don't
a-
give it credit.
Oh, in the
It's been 700
1500s, who the
years.
heck knows what that is now?
I know.
But doesn't it look like that one?
Which one?
This one.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
Oh,
a little bit. The one on the right. Be
yeah.
the right. Okay,
Honestly, they're
cool.
all pretty cool.
that's neat.
Thanks.
So anyone out there
Oh,
listening that
Google.
knows what the hell tower we're talking about, please feel free to post it and tag Drinking with Authors. Because
Please.
I
and
found
what's
it.
the funny thing is all of a sudden from this episode, we'll get like people just posting this tower.
Just random towers from across the world.
That'd be
Yes.
awesome.
Okay. What were we talking about right before the break? I'm now all sidetracked with wine and towers.
Rapid publishing.
Rapid fire publishing. So
I made a note.
thank you. That's smart because I literally was like, what the hell were we talking about? I knew we were talking about something though. That's at least the point. One of the things about rapid fire publishing is honestly, there's studies that say that you have to have at least 6 books out to get a true deep following going, because they want to be fed. And a lot of the income, like all the marketing you're doing, which is fantastic and great, but you do that on your 3rd book, you'll see 10 times the results because they have something to keep clicking the buy button. Even if when your 3rd book comes out, you're promoting your 1st book, because that's what people do is they want to hit the buy button. And if they like it, I mean, we do the same thing on our Kindle, or whether, you like to read the paper, which is totally fine or whatever, they want all of it. Like even when we're at conventions and stuff, and like CR's at a convention, they're not buying book 1, they're buying all of the books on our table to read the entire thing. So.
Yeah. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No.
I've heard of people releasing like 12 to 18 books a year, which first of all blows my mind that they're
I
writing
think
that.
ghostwriting kills me though.
There's
Because a lot of
ghostwriting involved in
times-
that. Not
Ghostwriting.
everyone, but there's ghostwriting.
So
Yeah.
it blows my mind on the writing side of it, but it also kind of blows my mind on the reading side, because I mean, it takes me, just because of time, not my reading speed, but probably about 3 weeks or so to read a book. And
You are the exception, not the rule on that, my friend.
saying that's fast or slow.
You're way too slow. Romance readers on average read 5 to 7 books a week.
5 to 7
Yeah,
books
I
a
do.
week. How do
Yeah.
you have
I go
that
through like
time?
a book a day, sometimes
How do you
2.
have that time?
Because so the way I write is weird. So if I'm not writing, then I'm reading, because I have to keep like a constant flow to keep my mind busy. So if
Wow.
I'm not writing, then I read, and I read stupidly fast.
See, this is a whole new world to me that I did not know even existed since maybe I learned about it maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I never even heard of it. It's incredible to me.
Yeah, no, the average readers, minimally 1 book a week, average readers, they go through a lot. Now, if you have an incredibly busy schedule and you're whatever, it can take you longer. It takes me longer to read I do a lot of audiobook listening because I found that it's easier, because when I'm doing chores and just doing the mundane stuff throughout my day.
I do both, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I have time. I don't have time to sit and do this, but I have time to, throughout my day, throw my AirPods in and listen to different books. I've gotten so many more books, quote unquote read that way since for that. But like CR, I have so many friends that read a book a night or a book every 2 days, and they go through it. So you have to realize that your readers, even if you go, okay, maybe they're on the slow side and they read a book every 3 weeks, they have another, hypothetically, 48 weeks of the year, then, or 49 weeks, they're waiting for your next book. So what are they going to put in the middle of that 49
Right.
weeks? You know,
That's interesting. And then they could start liking 40 of those 49 authors better. And
that's
start,
true. But
Not
that's
only
one
that, but
thing
you
I was
forget
saying.
about the series too.
Right.
Because I had one series I really liked, and she took 2 years to do the next book, and like I had completely forgotten all about her. I was like, holy shit, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That's a concern. Yeah.
So
And then-
writing faster, and you get faster, I'm sure you've seen this as you start going into the next books, but writing faster. And then the other thing that is a fantastic idea is to get other authors that write similar genre and like the same genre as you or similar genres to you, and do takeovers of their pages and have it like a spread talk about, because then you're keeping them in the family. So if you have other authors and they're reading their books and they're reading this books, but you're still kind of top of mind to them because they do that. And it's not bad. It's not that your readers won't go, oh yeah, when they get the notification that you have your next book out, if they subscribe to that, but not all readers do. Like on Amazon, you can subscribe, for instance, to say, any book that comes out from this author, notify me a book that's coming out from that author, right? That's something you want to encourage, because otherwise, when are they going to know book 2's out or book 3's out or the novellas are out? So it's a way to do it.
It's very interesting. I need to take over Dan Brown's Facebook page and Diana Gabaldon's.
Well, not going to lie, there are definitely ways you can put yourself there for that. So, but the thing is, like, I have one of the people who've been on our podcast, she's amazing. And she wrote 10 books in a year, right? That was huge. She wrote and put out 10 books. Now, some of her books are smaller novels. They're all, a lot of them were mystery and stuff like that, but she put out 10 of them in a year. And she was like, full-time writing, that was a huge stretch. So anybody who puts out 12 to 18, I'm sure there are exceptions to this, but 95% of the time they have ghostwriters.
They
They're
have
not
to.
Especially if they're over 50,000 words. There's no way.
There's no
Like
way.
my bigger books are what, 80,000 words? Like there's no way I could push out 12 of them. That's pushing out 80,000 words plus editing. That's
Yeah.
one a month. Like that's ridiculous.
You know, CR's a writer. Val Willis, who's a partner of mine at the publishing company, she did 320,000 words last year. Like, and that's huge. That is huge that she wrote 320,000 words.
It's basically like on a good day, I actually can do 10,000 words in a day, but that's basically not doing anything else. And that's also, I'm a big outliner. So that's also like post outline, post research and everything, you know, that's just like when I'm in the zone and cruising. So it's not like I can hit that rate consistently, you know, for 322 days or whatever number you said, like 322 days a year.
No, that's exact. But see, that's the point is some people do a lot better. And so when I'm talking about these people who are the exception and not the rule, when you see people go, I put out 12 books, you got to go, probably not on your own, dude. And that sucks because there are a lot of people that actually make a living doing ghostwriting, not their writing. They do ghostwriting because people who get into that sort of thing are people who are in marketing and sales and they do all the other stuff. And they're like, look, I put this out. And I'm like, yeah, that's not yours. And when you read their books,
And you can tell the tone.
Yeah.
And then also hire people to do their marketing, obviously, as well.
Sometimes, I mean, it's great if you find people like Stephanie who does the wine, you know, and books and things like that. They're amazing. There are definitely people that are right to invest your money in marketing wise. You should know that, marketing and sales. There are some people that are absolutely brilliant to do that. And then there are all the scams in the world. They tell you, if you give me your $100, I will get you 50,000 Twitter followers.
Don't get me started on this going on in writing. It's unbelievable. Let's just say promote it on Writer's Warmth. You know what I'm talking about? Hard DM now.
Yes.
It's
Constantly.
crazy how
They stalk you.
it's
Like those
they
people are
do.
dedicated.
It's unbelievable. It's like someone in India who has 100,000 followers, 99% of them are bots, and the other 1,000 are probably in India. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're probably not. It's not really the market for my book. And then they're like, "Please, sir, are my prices too high?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." If it was free, I probably wouldn't do it. It's kind of like it's like putting a business card on a bulletin board with another 500 business cards at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Is it going to hurt you? Probably not. But is anyone going to actually get your business from that? No.
No, and that's the sad part is that authors don't know, and it sounds really good, just like any scams that are out there. It sounds fantastic. You want to get your book out there. You want to do that. It's just, it definitely takes some education and stuff like that. And it's not a lonely sport. You have to find your people in your community and your tribe so that you don't fall into all the dumb crap that can happen out there.
It's crazy how all these scammers think that authors are loaded. It's so funny.
Well, I don't think they think they're
really
loaded. I think they think they're desperate.
Yeah.
They think they're desperate.
You're right. Yeah. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's honestly, like having done sales. So my background in sales and marketing is in tech, like software sales and stuff like that. And it really is honestly easier to sell like a 10 or I meant to say a 5 or 6 figure software product than it is like a book.
It's true, but you'll find, especially as you get through your third one and beyond, you'll hit a momentum. There will be a momentum. There will be a fan base. Yeah. There will be that. And you'll figure out for your group what works, and you'll figure out what doesn't work and what you need to do. I'll tell you, it's more than anything, it's feeding the machine. It's feeding the machine. Very rare.
And by the way, I should preface that with that, things are going actually very well with my book. So I'm looking at it.
We didn't think they were going badly. But they can always be going better.
And people are clamoring. And one of the reasons why I'm asking about all the release stuff and the novellas and everything is that I hear a lot from people that they're kind of clamoring and they can't wait for the next book to come out. So that's why I'm strongly considering sort of putting the third one on hold for a little bit and releasing the novellas in the meantime.
If you have them or do them concurrently, but if you're going to release those, if your publisher's down for a good, otherwise you're going to have to open the door called self-publishing, and that's a little bit of a door.
Self-publishing the novellas.
Yeah, but don't just put them on Kindle Unlimited. Don't do that to your audience.
Why not?
Because although Kindle is a huge population, it's not the only population. In truth.
Right. But how many people are, like, percentage wise, let's say, is it worth not doing Kindle Unlimited to get the Kobo readers?
It's not just Kobo. You got to realize, you're opening an entire Pandora's box. You know what? We should probably talk, this is a box and it has many demons in it. So why don't we just make a point to talk off the podcast, and I will give you all of the things and you can make your decision then based on that. I'd love to.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And of course, anybody out there listening, if you want to hit me up on the social medias, I will try to answer any questions I can. Not that I'm a perfect expert, but I have been there, done that, and have a few t-shirts in my closet in regards to this. Cool. So, okay, so Rob, what was your inspiration for this story? Did you see a painting and you're like, I want to marry that chick? That should be the inspiration.
It was more like I want to marry that 450-year-old dead guy.
Okay.
And
all right.
Yeah, by the way, that's not a sexual orientation comment, not that it matters, but my wife might get upset about that. I've also had some drinks. And I should also point out that if the color of me is changing while I'm drinking, it's not because my face is getting more flushed, it's because the sun is going down, and I have a ring light right here, and I don't have any upward lights on me.
It's okay. You
So
can start getting a buzz.
that's
You
what's
don't have to make
happening. And
excuses.
I've noticed
Yeah.
this because I keep looking at myself.
Like,
So
likely excuse, likely
yeah,
excuse.
let me have another sip.
Here, I can put my ring light on too, and I look like really pasty and glowy. It's bizarre. So I'm, it's cool. Anyway,
So Erica, in answer to your question, yes, it wasn't that I wanted to marry somebody in the painting, but it was the painting that actually was the inspiration, and not the particular painting in this book, actually. So I think this is an interesting story. So the paradise is the titular subject of The Prisoner of Paradise, and that's the name of the painting by Jacopo Tintoretto, a Renaissance master. He's not a household name, but he's certainly in the top 10. People who studied art history certainly know him. So anyway, in Venice, he's Venetian, or was Venetian, and in Venice, Paradise is located in a place called the Doge's Palace, in Italian, the Palazzo Ducale. And the Doge's Palace is essentially a combination of the White House and Congress. So most Americans don't know that Venice was its own republic, and prior to the unification of Italy. And they were actually their own republic and also the world's largest maritime power for close to 1,000 years. They were extremely wealthy. They were the trading capital of Europe, which is why, when you go to Europe, you see these, when you go to Venice, you see these incredible marble buildings, and everything is filled with priceless art and all that. So they were extraordinarily wealthy. And there's one particular room in the Doge's Palace where the senators met. So the reason why I say it's the combination of like the White House and Congress is because they had an elected leader called the Doge, which was basically a duke, but he was elected for life. But they also had senators. So in this one particular room in this building, all of the senators would meet there. And at one point, it was the largest room in all of Europe. And on one particular side of the room was this painting called Paradise. And it's still there, actually, I should say. And there's a whole backstory on the painting, which I can get into. But Tintoretto painted this painting. So prior to me seeing this, I had gone to another museum that originally was had a different purpose than being a museum, called the Scuola di San Rocco in Venice, that's completely filled with Tintoretto paintings and other Renaissance masters. And there's one particular painting called this Crucifixion, which, as you could imagine, is about the crucifixion. Also very, very large, probably about 25 or 30 feet wide by maybe 20 feet high. And this painting just completely captivated me the moment I saw it. And I'm not a religious person, by the way, but it's just the content and the technique of the art. Most paintings of the crucifixion are very hyper-focused on basically like Jesus on the cross, right? This one is kind of like a wide angle establishing shot in action. So it's like if you took a freeze frame of a movie of an establishing shot, this would be it. It has, I forgot the names of the people, but there are two other crosses, and one of them is actually like going up in progress. There's probably 75 people in this particular painting. They're all doing different things. It's really, really, really cool. And the people in the painting are from all different walks of life, different races, ages, genders, you name it. And I started to think like, and every single one of them, again, this painting is really big. So all of these people in this painting are individual portraits of their own. And I started thinking, who are these people that essentially got immortalized into these works of art? And not this particular painting, but all of them. Obviously, painters to this day still use models, but did he have a line of models out the door? Probably not, like hundreds of people. So then I got the idea, again, I love telling stories and everything. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it was their souls that were captured from their bodies and actually put into this painting. And then I started doing research and discovered Paradise, which it still gives me chills thinking about it, how perfect the content and the composition of this particular painting is for what I wanted to do for the story I wanted to tell. So I did that research, found Paradise. I did see it after the fact, and honestly, like it's mind-blowing to see this painting. So that is the inspiration for it.
that is very,
That's
very
awesome.
cool. I'm telling you, that whole backstory you kind of told about the paintings and stuff, though, that is at least a novella. about how that entire group traps them. Stuff, just
Yep.
saying. There's a whole thing there that you can use. I
agree.
love it.
So many options. Novellas are so much fun because it's just making up your already made up stuff even more.
Yeah, I completely agree, CR. Like, it's really cool to just sort of like, you take your own thing that you've developed, that you've made, and then you just kind of like go off and run with it. It's a fun experience. Yeah.
I think, yeah, no, totally. Okay. Well, guess what? We are at the end of this particular podcast. So, shameless self-promotion, Rob. Tell people where to find you.
Okay, so again, the book is called The Prisoner of Paradise. This is it. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and basically anywhere else you want to buy it from. You can find me at myname.robsamborn.com on my website. And I'm also on every social media platform you can think of. Usually my handles are at Rob Samborn.
Very, very
You want to
cool.
find some fun TikTok videos.
I was going to say, you got to follow the TikTokness. Do you have a newsletter people can subscribe to know
I
when
do,
your stuff is
yeah. So
coming?
if you go to my website, robsamborn.com, you can subscribe to the newsletter.
Very, very cool. You have been so much fun to have on this podcast. Like, I've learned so many things.
I
like
can't
being
believe, is it over already? This is awesome. I'm only in my second drink.
Oh, I know. Don't worry. There's going to be your follow-up literary briefs. It's going to come in handy. So this has been Drinking with Authors. I have been your host, Erica Lance. Our sponsor today has been Skunk Brothers Spirits. DWA10 is the coupon code. I'm saying it slow now because when I say it too fast and I've been drinking, another first word comes out. We're not going to go over that right now, but it happens. My co-host has been CR Rice, and our guest has been the amazing Rob Samborn. I can do this. It's fine. It's a good thing I don't get paid for this. Anyway, we hope to see you guys next time.